Oh dear, Stage 4. So, here's the story behind this story. This Stage 4 in particular gives me lots of trouble if I don't play as Reimu. And guess what? That's me playing as not Reimu, so expect a lot of not good gameplay. Because Marisa's too fast for me to ever acquire a sense of security. But when I made the concept for this guide, everyone was already, "Dibs on Reimu! I got Sakuya!" So I had no choice but to play as Marisa, but it's okay. This is a learning experience for me and everyone watching this video. Cherry petals have been falling from above the clouds. Does Reishoden, the legendary place, really exist? Now, I'm not exactly sure what this Reishoden is, but perhaps maybe someone else watching knows, so I thought I'd turn the tables a little and ask you guys exactly what Reishoden is, or if I'm even pronouncing it right. What I do know is that Alice must have inadvertently pointed us in the right direction, so yeah, much appreciated. But now we seem to be floating around in nothingness with a bluish-purple swirl and... Oh, wait. If you look closely, there are more cherry petals right there alongside the snowflakes. Yeah, maybe if we follow them, we'll find the rest of the spring. Oh, this is so convenient! So, here I'll discuss the dialogue for the characters. It's relatively important since Sun hasn't given any of the characters official voices, and it's the only real indication towards them having any sort of personality, be it valid or 2D or none at all. It's much like reading an interactive storybook, with much more emphasis on the interaction. That, and you have to unlock the chapters by doing well. Each character has their own style and accents, so some of their lines are fairly easy to understand, while others you'd find completely cryptic unless you know what they're referencing beforehand, but with so many characters in the cast now, that's virtually impossible. That makes me wonder how Zim comes up with these lines and these conversations which have references to novels, poems, classic games, certain cultures, etc. You'd have to have a fair amount of wit and knowledge to be able to come up with or understand this dialogue, and have that be the only thing that really defines your characters besides their art. And there is a Lily White, the mid-boss of Stage 4, and a jolly one at that. Some call her a nuisance, which is cruel, but partially true. She's here because spring is, and her ability is one of the less definable. Simply put, this fairy has the ability to foretell the coming of said season, effectively making her a calendar. And as you can tell, she is the very essence of the phrase, actions speak louder than words, because who in their right mind tries to shoot others to make their point? Oh wait, that would be everyone in the cast, my bad. Seriously though, Lily very, very rarely speaks, instead choosing to convey her messages through bullets, because as we all know, pain is much more audible than a fairy's voice. Unless said fairy is Navi, but I haven't had to sit through that, so ha ha! Anyhow, we're now out of that blue swirly pattern from before, and we've reached our cruising altitude of 35,000 feet. At this time, you may now graze to your heart's content. We thank you once again for choosing Gansokyo Airlines, and we do hope you enjoy the rest of your flight, though do be mindful of stray death fairies said to be lurking around this area. Most of that was utter nonsense, of course. Who needs airplanes when you can fly? That would be a really nice thing to do. And I know some people out there share my sentiments. The rest of the stage is mostly placement again. This is probably one of my least favorite Stage 4s. Not because of the song, I think it's very pretty. Not because of Lily White, I love her to bits. She's consistently in my top 10. But simply because of how long the stage itself is, and how little it has to show because of it. Maybe this is a characteristic of all Stage 4s now that I think about it, but this one just seems unexciting in comparison. I mean, as a player, the only things I see myself looking forward to are clouds, Lily White, and lots of dying. But at least this is short-lived. Master Spark, because I don't want to die twice before even getting to the boss fight. Why, Fairy, why? Why do you harbor such hostility against me? Is it because I shot down Lily White? That's actually a very valid reason to try and kill me. I literally have nothing in my defense. So, we are now coming up on the gateway to the Netherworld. As such, we are greeted by a magical barrier and three, count 'em, three, people that state we aren't invited to the flower viewing set to take place. A flower viewing in the Netherworld. Well, I suppose anything's possible in a world of magic, like stealing entire seasons! Allow me to tell you a story. A story that took place long before this story of missing seasons and untold vengeance. Back in the outer world, there was once a count who lived in a mansion. He had 4 lovely daughters, each of whom he cherished for who they were. The eldest daughter was known as Lunasa. She had a rather serious temperament and excelled in everything she did. Her honesty was somewhat of a prime example for her younger sisters. The second eldest was called Merlin, and she was known most for her unusually positive attitude and, similar to Lily White, jovial disposition. She was also arguably the strongest of the 4, though her carefree outlook on life wouldn't help that at all. The third eldest was named Lyrica. She was the most intelligent of the 4, but this also meant she was the most clever and manipulative of the sisters. The fourth and youngest daughter's name was Layla, and unfortunately for the purposes of the story, next to nothing is known about her, so I guess use your imagination. Anyway, the sisters and their father lived very comfortable lives in the outside world until one day the family found itself fatherless, and no one, but I'm assuming the family itself, knew how it happened. Eventually, the sisters agreed to move on and go their separate ways, except for Layla, who just couldn't bear to tear herself away from the place she grew up. So, after her sisters had all left, she found a way to conjure poltergeists in their image, and did so. She then lived with them for the rest of her time. And after she died, the poltergeists and the mansion were all forgotten and found their way into Gensokyo. It's not clear at all how the count died, or where the original sisters went, or what they did, but again, that's the mysterious portion of the story. If anything, this sort of thing actually encourages writing doujins and making flash videos about the subject matter. At any rate, time passed, and a lot of it, so the original 4 sisters also came to pass on, leaving the poltergeists and the mansion behind, where it is said that the poltergeists play music in Gensokyo to this day. The end. As a matter of fact, they were hired recently to perform at the previously mentioned flower viewing, so that's what they're doing here. Then people say Touhou doesn't have a story. Silly people. You just have to look for it. Sure, it's no Precursor Legacy or Legend of Zelda or Soul Calibur where you have the prologues written out for you in the first pages of some instruction booklet, and sure, it can be generalized into Incident, Path of Destruction, Ass-Kicking, Tea Party in that order, but you can do that for just about any game. Jak and Daxter? Punch, kick, shoot your guns, platform, save the world. Zelda. Oh no, Ganon. Oh no, Zelda! Puzzles, more platforms, swing your sword, maybe a little tune on the ocarina, save Hyrule. Soul Calibur, fight, 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 I win, destroy Soul Edge goes lol, nope, and reappears at full strength in the next sequel. See? It's not that hard to generalize anything, but it's the details that determine it to be worthwhile or not. In the meantime, the Prismrivers have been pounding on me rather hard with team spell after team spell, and unfortunately it's completely fair according to the spell card rules, and I pretty much flinch whenever I watch myself die, and I'm getting sick of watching myself fail so hard. That's a part of the mindset I was talking about in Sakuya's stage, so if this commentary turns out awkward in some way, that's most likely why. Also, as you may have noticed, I cut out parts of the fight, and that's sadly because there's too much of it, and I don't want to start babbling nonsense any more than I have already. Information takes precedence. If you want to see the whole stage, there's tons of other runs on YouTube you can watch. For now, though, Stage 4 is complete, thank God. Maybe I should start practicing Reimu. Not Reimu. Maybe I should start practicing Marisa more often, because that's just embarrassing to show this.